Okay, so welcome everyone. This is the first event in our Mental Health Awareness Week, which following the Mental Health Foundation, we're looking at the connection between mental health and nature. As the Mental Health Foundation make the point, a lot of us have been relishing nature during lockdown and found it to be a great salve to our sense of isolation and getting stuck in technology as we are here. We felt it would be a good way to follow the campaign. And we've asked a few local folk to come and talk to us. And the first of these is May Webber from the Royal Parks. May, just remind us, please, what's your job title there?
Yeah, so I work on the Mission Invertebrate project within the Royal Parks, and my title is Partnerships and Community Engagement Officer.
And how many of you in that team, or how many of you?
Yeah, so there are 6 of us in the Mission Invertebrate team. So some of us do specifically kind of the social media side and communication side of things, and others are specifically school officers, so they do all of the school teaching. And then we have another colleague who heads up the adult learning programme, so citizen science, which you'll find out more about in the presentation. And then myself, yeah, so working with local communities and exciting local residents of Regents Park and Primrose Hill about the amazing invertebrates that call the Royal Parks home and Regents Park and Primrose Hill home.
And I think you said at some point you're going to be out and about in your truck. What's the truck? Tell us about the truck.
Yes, yeah. So I'm not sure if any of you have seen our Mission Invertebrate truck. We do have a great photograph of it on our website. I haven't included one in the presentation actually, which is a shame. But yes, so we have the Mission Invertebrate truck, which I believe was an old blood donation vehicle. So it's got kind of a really beautiful illustration around the edge that's kind of depicting a meadow scene in the UK with lots of nice species that you can find around the Royal Parks. And it's an opportunity to come and visit the truck. We have lots of different events on. So there's storytelling, opportunities to do kind of bug hunting and learn more about the invertebrates that call Royal Parks home. So hopefully we're able to do those engagement events this summer. They go on throughout the summer holidays. So hopefully once we have those confirmed dates, I can share those with you, Tim, and you can share them with everyone. It's really fantastic for if you have families or little ones as well, because it's lots of fun storytelling. I completely love the storytelling, although that's just as much for adults really, isn't it?
Well, so many of us as kids were kind of fascinated with bugs and spent. And I remember I spent hours kind of looking at ants and stuff, and then we lose that sense of wonder. But I guess in a way that's if we can regain that sense of wonder and get absorbed back into nature, then we get the the mental health benefits.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Well, and we learn to respect nature more as well, of course. Anyway. Let us please, mate. It's over to you. Great. Start your screen share and tell us what you're up to.
Great. Well, thank you so much for everyone coming along and thank you for asking me to talk. It's a real privilege. So today I'm going to be talking about the Regents Park and Primrose Hill, some of the wildlife that we have that you might not know about, or perhaps if you spent lots and lots of time in the parks, then maybe you are well aware. So the talk is predominantly going to be, kind of looking at the biodiversity and then also the mental health and wellbeing benefits of being around green space, which is, fantastic that the Mental Health Foundation are talking about how nature can really improve, lots of elements of our lives. So things like reducing depression, lowering stress levels, and the list goes on really. So the title of the talk this evening, how spending time in the Regents Park and Primrose Hill can improve your mental health and well-being. So I am by no means a mental health or well-being expert. So I just want to say that at the start. So lots of the information that I've got has been from Mind and from the Mental Health Charity. So they have some really, really brilliant resources. So first of all, if you're not familiar with all of the different royal parks that are around London, this is a nice little map that shows the green spaces that we manage. So it's over 5,000 acres. I don't know if, can you see my mouse moving? Yes, great. So Bushy Park and Richmond Park are our largest, really, and probably Richmond Park is our most well known. And then you come into central London and you have Hyde Park, and then Regents Park and Primrose Hill in the north, Green Park, St James's Park, and Victoria Tower Gardens. I've missed out Brompton Cemetery. That's a very important, beautiful royal park, and then all the way down along the Thames to Greenwich Park. So lots of brilliant green space, which is home to lots and lots of different types of invertebrates. And you can see the images around here show you just a few of those invertebrates, and then birds and mammals as well. So this talk will be featuring mammals and birds as well, not just invertebrates, because as we know, everything is part of the ecosystem and the food chain in the parks. So if I go to the next slide. Oh, there we go. So what is Mission Invertebrate? So it's been going for 5 years now. So this project is a People's Postcode Lottery funded project, and it's a project aiming to enrich wildlife in the royal parks. And so they are incredibly large and busy green spaces in London, and incredibly busy from lockdown, as I'm sure you all noticed how busy all of our royal parks, particularly Regents and Primrose Hill, was throughout the lockdown. Many people meeting in green space and going out for using the park as a place for their daily exercise. And so we carry out expert invertebrate research, which I'll touch on a bit in the presentation, develop habitats across the parks, and create opportunities for people of all ages. So things like storytelling, which is for all ages, to learn about invertebrates and why they are so important. And so because for example, mammals and birds, part of the food chain, invertebrates and in insects, are at the bottom of that food chain, and everything above it feeds on those invertebrates. So really, in order to best protect and enhance wildlife, such as mammals and birds, you really need to start with the invertebrates, of which there are many. So invertebrates are creatures without a backbone. I do always add that kind of definition in, because it's quite easy to forget actually what an invertebrate is compared to a vertebrate. We are vertebrates, we have a backbone. Invertebrates are creatures without a backbone. So these are things like insects, spiders, snails, slugs, millipedes, and they actually account for over 95% of all animals on Earth. So most things are invertebrates, and within invertebrates, one of the most numerous are beetles. So there are many thousands of species of beetle. And so Mission Invertebrate, really, why invertebrates? Why not vertebrates? Well, that's because invertebrates underpin our populations of birds, mammals and their predators, the quality of our soils. So, the role of worms, for example, earthworms in producing healthy soils and water bodies as well. And the abundance and variety of plant species and the health of our trees also relies on invertebrates. So pollinating insects, for example. Invertebrates are recyclers, pollinators, pest controllers. So before the talk started this evening, me and Tim were talking about wasps, and often wasps are very difficult to kind of convince people to learn to love, but actually wasps are really amazing pest controllers. So they predate on things like caterpillars that you might get quite frustrated if you're a gardener and you have lots of caterpillars that are eating your vegetables or fruits. So they are really important pest controllers, and of course invertebrates are sources of food as well, for many people around the world, but also for animals. So for example, birds, things like that, they obviously heavily rely on insects and invertebrates. So yeah, they are the cornerstone of biodiversity, and they're also incredibly numerous and come in many different shapes and sizes. They're incredibly colourful, so they're just it's such a great project to be part of. And so one of the first things I wanted to touch on within Mission Invertebrate is the adult learning activities that we do. So unfortunately with COVID, we had to take kind of year out last year, but hopefully they'll be starting again this year, this summer, we plan to do pick up our engagement events again. So this is Tim Freed, who is an expert lepidopterist, and a lepidopterist is someone who studies butterflies and moths. And so we had a moth trap event a couple of years ago in Regents Park, and this was a fantastic opportunity for people to get up close and personal to moths that often fly at night. They're nocturnal, so they're very difficult to see, unless of course you get one that kind of flies into your bathroom or into your house in the night and flickers around your light bulb. But moths, again, there are actually over 2,500 species of moth in the UK, and you can see here that a very impressive total of 109 moth species were recorded during the event. So the moth that we've got at the top is a poplar hawk moth, which are one of our largest UK species, and they're incredibly beautiful. And then underneath we have a small magpie moth, which you can see it's two very big eyes, and they're actually very colourful and also, you know, blend in very well with their surroundings. You can imagine if a poplar hawk moth was on, you know, the bark of a tree or something like that on a tree trunk, you'd never be able to spot it. So we do lots of adult learning citizen science events. So this was an event where people came along in the evening, met Tim, set up the moth traps, and then throughout the evening had a look at what they caught. And yeah, if anyone has any questions, please do write them in the comment box if you have any questions, and we can answer them at the end, because I'm sure moth trapping is we don't kill them. That's something to mention as well. So the moth trap essentially works with the light, so moths are attracted to the light, and there's kind of a hole in the middle and they get stuck inside, and then after a couple of hours, we have a look at what we've caught, record the different species, and then release them all. So no moths are harmed, but it's a fantastic way of seeing how many different moth species we have. And of course, the fact that we have 109 different moth species is a really great indicator that you know, that Regents Park and Primrose Hill has you know, a variety of other wildlife, because as we know, things like bats and birds feed on moths. So if we have a healthy moth population, that most likely means that we have a healthy kind of mammal and bird population too, and a good variety of food plants for the caterpillars. And actually moths are kind of my true love, and how I really got into conservation. And for me, when I was very young, I found a caterpillar in the garden, and I reared it. I put it into a little box with some soil and a few plants, and kind of looked back at this caterpillar every day, checking on it, and it was growing and growing and growing. So obviously the caterpillar, the larval stage, does all of the eating to gain energy so that it can undergo metamorphosis. So I check on this caterpillar every day, and then one day I came out and it had disappeared, and I couldn't understand why, because I'd you know, enclosed it very well, and so I just couldn't understand how it had gone. I thought my sister had released it to upset me, but actually a couple of months later I checked on it, and there was a moth inside, and I hadn't realized, but the caterpillar had gone into the soil, buried itself, formed a cocoon, undergone metamorphosis, and emerged as a moth. And it was an Angleshades moth, which is absolutely beautiful. So if you do have time to Google that, an Angleshades moth, and I just couldn't believe that something you know, bright green, that was, you know, not the best, you know, not the best at moving around, could suddenly become something so beautiful and have wings and could suddenly fly for kilometers. So that's really how I got interested in entomology and biodiversity. So I have to mention moths this evening. And so I've also included a picture down here of a white letterhair streak. So if any of you know about the white letterhair streak, you'll know that it's actually a butterfly, not a moth. And so white letterhair streaks feed on elm. And we have asked Tim, in the past, he's done a survey for us looking at the abundance of white letterhair streaks to inform management plans. So for example, planting elm suckers along Regent's Canal, along the canal slip there, where we're able to provide their food plant to help the population grow. So invertebrates in Regents Park and Primrose Hill. So again, I have mentioned things other than invertebrates, but I'm sure you'll all be interested in it too. So the park's diverse grassland, woodland, wetland habitats actually together supports 21 different species of butterfly, which is almost half of the, all of the species of butterfly in the UK. So actually that's really good going that we have 21 species of butterfly. Over 230 species of moth have been recorded, 104 species of spider, 109 species of beetle, and more than 114 species of bird. Also 5 different species of bat as well. So Regents Park and Primrose Hill does really support a huge amount of biodiversity. And actually this year, Mission Invertebrate are commissioning a baseline survey of terrestrial invertebrates, particularly pollinators, at Primrose Hill. So there's lots of things that we can do to improve the habitat at Primrose Hill. So it's good to know what do we have there already, how can we manage that green space for the invertebrates that we have, and also to help provide habitat for new invertebrates that might be flying over and want to stop and lay eggs, for example. I'm not sure, again, if you may not be familiar with the species here. So we've got a holly blue on the far left. Holly blues, I actually saw my first holly blue of the year today. I'm not sure if you have, if any of you are familiar with the holly blue and have spotted the butterfly, but they appear very silvery as they fly, and there are 2 generations per year. So you see them kind of flying at the start of the summer and then towards the end as well. They're very beautiful. And then in the middle we have a tawny mining bee. I'll touch on mining bees a little bit later on. And then a water rail as well. So water rails are not particularly common in London, so it's really great that we have a sighting of a water rail in Regents Park. So now to touch on some of the habitats that we have, which makes Regents Park and Primrose Hill such a great place for invertebrates. So we have reed beds around the boating lake. I'm sure you're all familiar with the reed bed habitats, which have got lots of ecological benefits. So improving water quality, providing habitat for birds and invertebrates. So lots of birds will use the reeds as a kind of safe place to nest. And these waterside areas, of course, attract dragonflies and damselflies, which 9 species have been recorded in Regents Park and Primrose Hill. And you can see here we've got some damselflies and a broad-bodied chaser dragonfly here in the middle. And 5 bat species, which I mentioned, have also been recorded in the parks, and many of those feed above the water. So again, you might be familiar with bats feeding in kind of at dusk or in the night, and they kind of swoop over water bodies catching insects, and actually you can sometimes see them swooping very, very low across the water, similar to some birds, like swallows catching insects just as they're leaving the water surface. They're very good at what they do. So you can see here just the variety of insects, and then we've got a coot here as well, which are very, very noisy birds if they're fighting. So I'm sure you're familiar with those birds. And of course, the reed bed habitats, I have to mention the reed warbler. And actually, there are summer visitors, so they migrate from sub-Saharan Africa, and they're here from kind of April to September before flying back. And they have a very distinctive call. So again, I'm not sure if you're familiar with a reed warbler call. I wasn't sure how to kind of add audio to the presentation this evening, but again, if you have the time after this presentation, do listen to what the reed warbler sounds like, because it's really quite amazing sound. The first birds arrived to Regents Park on the 12th of April this year, and I've actually heard them. So if you go to Queen Mary's Gardens and the water there, the Broadwalk, there you can hear them. So I heard some reed warblers calling a couple of weeks ago. They're very difficult to see. As you can see, they camouflage, they blend in with their surroundings so well. So often you hear them before you see them, and sometimes you never see them, which is often what happens to me. But the reed warblers are really, something really special to have, and it's such a lovely sign that summer's coming when you start to hear them, and the fact that they've migrated all that distance as well is just truly phenomenal. So Mission Invertebrate also carry out habitat enhancement works, and one of those that we did earlier in the year, this year, was to we enhanced the aquatic habitat, so around the boating lake. So you can see this digger here, so removing kind of desilting the lake, really, so removing kind of the muddiness of it, adding more oxygenating plants, so that's great for pollinators, also adding oxygen into the water, and also improving the reed bed habitat too. So it was quite a big work, and hopefully we'll be able to see you know, the improvement over the next few years. But you know, this habitat is very, very important in Regents Park for supporting, you know, a huge amount of invertebrates. And we've also got woodland habitat as well. So in this northern part of the park, this area is a little bit more, is probably one of the more wild areas of the park, which is a great place to see invertebrates. We've got some gorse bushes and bramble, and there's also a kind of a bird breeding area here as well, which I'll touch on in a moment. So there is a woodland area here, which unfortunately is closed off to the public, but it does mean that we get a really great variety of woodland species as well. There's also fantastic areas of dead wood, and dead wood is an incredibly important habitat, which I'll touch on in a moment. So you can see this wren here, which I think has got some spiders in its mouth, probably about to go and feed its chicks, and then a speckled wood butterfly here. So speckled wood, as the name suggests, they like woodland glades. So often as you're walking through here, they'll find a sunny patch on some bramble, and they'll bask in the sunshine, picking up the warmth. And then, of course, we have wildflower meadows as well. So these wildflower meadows, there are a few more areas in the park that don't get mown as much. So you can see kind of longer areas of grass. But in this particular area here, so we have the sports pitches here. This is Queen Mary's Gardens. So it's kind of just off the Broadwalk here. We have some wildflower meadow, which you'll be able to see in the summer. And we've got some beautiful species, so this common blue butterfly here and six-spot burnet moth. This moth is actually a day-flying moth species, so lots of moths are actually do fly in the daytime, and they're often really, really colourful, so they're a great moth to look out for. So this area also has a bee bank. I'm not sure if any of you have noticed it. No, a few heads know. So the next time you're around here, look out for a bee bank. So you can see here in this photo here, sorry, I should have made it probably a bit larger. So we've got a sign that says bees nesting. And so this bee bank is essentially a south-facing bank with exposed areas of bare soil. And this is where bees, like this bee here, the male, this is a male hairy-footed flower bee, what a great name, the females of this species, and actually the female, they're sexually dimorphic species, so the female looks very different. She's actually pretty much kind of black. She's got black fur, black fluff, so they look very different. And so the female will lay her eggs, creating nesting chambers. She'll lay her eggs on this bee bank, and they like it to be south-facing because it's warmer. So this bee bank here is for bees to nest, and it's a relatively new habitat enhancement that was put in a couple of years ago. We'll hopefully be putting some more in as well. And so this is a really great refuge for other insects as well. So there's kind of lots of pollinating flowers. Lots of flowers that are good for pollinating insects on there too. So the next time you're walking along there, see if you can spot the bee bank. There is a sign. And next to the bee bank, oh, hang on. I've added that one in, but I'm going to skip one. I'll come back to that one. Next to the bee bank, we also have two loggeries. Again, I'm not sure if you've noticed these, but the next time you go out, do have a look for them. So where these two red dots are, and there are loggeries located all around the parks, but I just wanted to highlight these just because they are right next to the bee bank. And so loggeries are really, really important. So dead wood is actually quite an increasingly rare habitat, just where lots of green spaces are becoming increasingly tidy. So, you know, dead wood is often not left, but actually dead wood supports a huge variety of invertebrates and fungi and bacteria. And of course, you know, where there's invertebrates and fungi, you then get other species of kind of mammal and bird. So it's a really important habitat for biodiversity. So these loggeries have been put in here. So one of the species that I often talk about are insects, the stag beetle. So stag beetles, the female actually lays her eggs inside the dead wood, and the grub, the larva, will eat the dead wood. And that's how that's what it feeds on, is the dead wood inside. And actually the larvae often spend quite a few years inside the dead wood eating, up until the point that they undergo metamorphosis and emerge as an adult. So things like stag beetles, you know, we wouldn't have as many if we didn't have these dead wood areas. So do look out for these loggeries. And actually, we're hoping to launch a project this year called Sounds of the Undergrowth, which is going to be, we're working with a sound recordist who's going to come in and record sounds of wildlife in the park, working with a further education college to invite some students along to collaborate on the project with us. And we're hoping to put some microphones around these loggeries and see if we can capture any of the sounds of invertebrates. So that's very exciting. I'll just go back one as well. So talking about solitary bees, I'm not sure if you have seen this area of Regents Park. So the Broad Walk is just to the left of it up here. And you can see that it's very bare at the moment. So lots of so soil erosion has occurred, obviously from lots of people visiting the parks. So you can see these huge bare patches of soil. And as I said, actually, solitary bees do quite like bare patches of soil. So you can see here, I took this photo a couple of weeks ago. These are actually two mining bee nests. So the females have burrowed down, and they'll lay their eggs, and there'll be a you know, nesting chamber inside. And it's quite easy to forget about other bees. Often people think of the honeybee as the main pollinator, but actually there's hundreds of different species of bee, and actually most of them are solitary, so they don't live in hives like the honeybee. And there are around 250 species of those in the UK, so we're really lucky to have some of those mining bees in Regents Parks, for example, the tawny mining bee or the hairy-footed flower bee. So it's really great if you do find yourself walking along this patch. You know, tread carefully, but do look out for these little I think of them as little volcanoes, because I think that's what they look like. And you never know, if you have enough patience, you might spot one of the bees, female bees, kind of emerging out of one. So we also have bird breeding areas. So there are areas of the park that are designated for wildlife. So you might notice fencing around some areas. So this is to stop people and dogs and things like that from disturbing the habitat. So there are two bird breeding areas, one in the north of the park, and one in the south, close to St John's Lodge, around Queen Mary's Garden, and they are a really great refuge for birds. And you can see here a robin that's really having a good time in one of the bird baths that's been made. So these bird breeding areas attract lots of birds. So you know, it's really great to have areas that are kind of left to grow, and importantly aren't disturbed from humans, from human activity. And I have to mention, because this is just this mural has just been completed last week. I'm not sure if any of you have spotted it yet in Regents Park. It's at Gloucester Gate Playground. So Mission Invertebrate also commission artists to produce work. Art is a fantastic way of engaging with people, and so there are things that we've done in the past, for example, like some sculptures. So some of the trees that have been felled in Hyde Park, Park, we worked with an artist that used a chainsaw to create these beautiful sculptures made from the tree trunks. I haven't included a photograph, but if you go onto our Mission Invertebrate website, you'll see them, and they're truly stunning. And so we've commissioned this invertebrate themed mural. So the artist ATM and Karen Francesca, who painted this beautiful mural. So it's on the toilet block in Gloucester Gate Playground. So the next time you're walking past, if you manage to see it, do take a look. At the moment, they're working on the north side, on the north facing side of the toilet block, which will be depicting a nighttime scene. So there'll be some moths and hedgehogs and bats and lots of things that you can spot at night. But it's a really colourful, beautiful mural. So we're very thankful to the artists, and lots of people have said how bright and colourful it is, and how much they love it. So I hope you'll agree. So we've talked about the different habitats and all of the different species of wildlife that you can see in the park, some easier to spot than others. For example, the reed warbler, which is always a little bit of a difficult one to spot. And I'm sure that, as you know, this is Mental Health Awareness Week, and particularly with COVID, with the pandemic, people having to stay indoors, it's been really, really difficult, and lots of people have found that green space has been such a refuge for them. And so spending time in green space and bringing nature into your everyday life can benefit your mental and physical well-being. And so, improving your mood, reduce feelings of stress, help you take time out and feel more relaxed. I know that that's certainly the case for me. And also being outdoors can improve your confidence and self-esteem. So from my experience, for example, working with school groups, I noticed that pupils are much more confident and able to really be themselves outdoors, as opposed to being in the classroom. And they also seem to get on and cooperate with one another better as well when they're outdoors. And so it's this really is about finding ways, finding time to fit in nature into your life. And sometimes that can be difficult when other things, people becoming incredibly busy, and it's difficult to find time for you and to be in nature. And of course, defining nature is down to you and your own personal experiences. So for many people, for example, myself, I don't have a garden. So when I look outside the window and there's a sparrow on the fence, that for me is engaging with nature. There's that connection I feel between myself and the bird, and it really brings me joy. Whereas for others, people might want to be more physical, so they might want to lay down on the grass and be amongst more quiet areas for a couple of hours. That might be for them really what experiencing nature is. So it's really down to your own personal experience and preference. And spending time in green space. So again, this is from the Mind website on, what you can do outdoors. And so sometimes it's, we're not always able to go outdoors. So bringing nature inside is really important. So you can do that with houseplants or even pictures, and even watching nature documentaries has been shown to improve our well-being. And I know that lots of pictures of green space, I have it all over my flat in London, which I really do appreciate having, because it's so nice, especially not having a garden. And doing activities outdoors, so for example, eating meals outside, or trying an art and craft activity outside. So for example, if you're if you knit, or if you draw, or if you're writing or creating someone's birthday card, if you are able to sit outside and do that, then definitely do. Also taking time to listen to the sounds of nature. And I know in London that can be so difficult when there's, lots of people around, or there's roadworks going on. But birds, for example, they do sing loudly, and even amongst all of the other noise, you can pick up on that. So taking time to listen to the sounds of nature as well. You can also help the environment, which has can really make you feel good by volunteering for a charity. So I'll talk about volunteering at the Royal Parks. Building a pond, if you're fortunate enough to have a garden, building a pond is really one of the best things you can do for increasing biodiversity. And you can even put a plastic bucket, dig a hole and pop that in there, something that won't let the water out, even something as small as that, or an old sink, leaving that in the garden. And litter picking, all of these kind of activities, where you feel kind of a sense of satisfaction afterwards. And also it's a great way of meeting new people if you are able to do that. I know it's not always possible to find the time to do these things. Connecting with animals, through bird watching, or carrying out citizen science, which I'll touch on in a moment. And even when you're walking through green space, or if traveling through green space, you look at how many tree species you can find, or see if you can collect different shaped leaves. So this is a photo that I've taken on the right hand side. This was in Hyde Park, all of the beautiful leaves, just the colours in autumn. And on the left hand side, I decided to kind of create some artwork. I collected kind of different coloured leaves to create this kind of spiral, and lots of these were just on the floor, and creating this beautiful spiral, and that was really, really good fun. And just using kind of the resources around me, and something like that, being outdoors and making a piece of artwork was so much fun. Also, things outdoors that you can do, identifying bird songs. So I would suggest, and please, this may not be suitable for you, but I always found that starting with robins or blackbirds was the easiest, because they have quite a distinctive song. They're quite loud, and also they're very abundant across London. So they're great birds to start with. And also try drawing or painting what you see outdoors. So these are all just suggestions. There's no one right answer, but I always find that again, looking out the window and just drawing what I see is great. And then 5 ways to wellbeing. So you might have come across this doing some, if you've been researching Mental Health Awareness Week, and 5 ways to wellbeing. So this was taken from the London Wildlife Trust, but I believe that this is also on quite a few different websites when talking about improving our mental health and wellbeing. So be active. If you can be active, leave your home and explore a green space. And I know that's not been easy in lockdown, and that's not always easy for everyone, but things like from my kitchen window here, I get my binoculars out and have a look at what birds are in the neighbour's garden, and I love that activity. It's a lot of fun. And connect, so with the people around you, and share your experiences of seeing wildlife in the park. So if you do visit, then maybe tell someone, oh, do you know what, I heard my first reed warbler today, and connecting with people in nature. And give, so do something to help your local green space and the people that use it. Again, this is things like volunteering, if you have the time, if you're able to give. That has been one of the ways that you can makes you feel good. And take notice, so of the everyday wilderness at your doorstep. So I always find things like even just outside on my windowsill, I often see snails, or there are some ladybirds. So there's all there are things to look at, or even the sparrows, which I think might be nesting in the flat above, taking notice of things, and kind of looking down as well. Even the dandelions growing between the pavements, the cracks in the pavements. They're like little drops of sunshine, I find, the dandelions. So little things like that, taking notice of even the smallest, small flowers that are just beneath our feet. And learn as well. So when you're learning, trying something new, and doing it outdoors. So for example, maybe trying something new, like creating some art using leaves outdoors. And the Mental Health Foundation found that throughout the pandemic, nearly half of people in the UK said that visiting green spaces, such as parks, helped them to cope. And that was definitely the case for me. And so this is the view from my kitchen window. So you can see I'm lucky to have my neighbours' gardens below. And you can see this beautiful, this was a cherry tree, which when it was in blossom was just absolutely stunning. And now it's just bright green, and really seeing that green color every morning just really, really lifts my mood. And so the Wildlife Trust, they asked the University of Essex to carry out a literature review. So wellbeing benefits from natural environments rich in wildlife. And so this is available on the Wildlife Trust website, so do have a look. Viewing nature from a window in a range of contexts can lead to health and wellbeing benefits. So this is things recovery from mental fatigue and improvements to wellbeing. So just some of the kind of headlines. So patients with natural views in hospitals recover from illness and surgery more quickly. In a prison environment, a cell with a natural view can reduce stress. In the workplace, views of nature are associated with reduced stress and increased job satisfaction. And even views of nature during a commute as well are also beneficial to well-being. And again, reducing the likelihood of future stress. So I thought that was really that literature review just showed all of the different ways that you can try and reduce stress by having a green view, or having pictures up on your wall, for example, in your kitchen of a tree. And so I've talked a bit about being in green space and that that can improve your mental health and well-being. And so one of the ways that you can do that is through volunteering at the rural parks. So our volunteers come from loads of different places, and all with different motivations as well, but they are all united in their passion for making a difference in our parks. So there's opportunities to volunteer across all of our rural parks, and the important work that they do has a direct effect on the lives of millions of park users every year. So before the pandemic, we had a figure of around 77 million visitors to our parks every year. And so, a lot of the amazing green spaces that make up the rural parks, really the volunteers are instrumental to that. So, we always thank volunteers so much for their time and effort. And so there's lots of different volunteering opportunities. So habitat management, surveying wildlife. So I'm going to talk a bit about hedgehog surveys in a moment. Inspiring families and school children. So there's also an opportunity to volunteer with the learning team or with Mission Invertebrate when we do school outreach and family fun days. So for example, the Mission Invertebrate Roadshow, where we have the Mission Invertebrate truck. You can also become a ranger as well. So this is a photograph of a ranger, I believe, at Richmond, and so they do a really incredible job of speaking to visitors, talking to them about the wildlife and heritage of the park as well. And so a study of Wildlife Trust volunteers showed that 95% of participants with low mental well-being at the start of volunteering reported an improvement in 6 weeks. And again, that full study is on the Wildlife Trust website, so you can read up about it. But volunteering is, a great way of meeting new people, and also giving your time. And so I'm going to mention just a couple of our volunteers. So someone has quoted, as someone who is profoundly deaf, I can often feel isolated. Volunteering here, I've met lots of delightful people from all walks of life. And then another volunteer has said, I really enjoy learning practical gardening skills and working alongside professional gardeners. I also find it therapeutic and would recommend it to others as a way to improve your physical and mental health. So, if this is something, if you do feel you're able to, or, comfortable volunteering, then I've got the email that you can, contact or inquire about. So we've got a hedgehog in the top right hand corner. And so hedgehogs hedgehogs are found in Regents Park. And so they're actually, Regents Park is one of the few sites in central London where hedgehogs are still found. So we've got about 30 to 40 individuals, and I'm sure you all might be aware that actually hedgehogs have been declining across England, and actually they're now listed as vulnerable on the red list classification, which is really sad. And there is a kind of worrying nationwide decline, but we're still very fortunate to have them in Regents Park. And so every year, I believe for the last 7 to 8 years, obviously we weren't able to do the hedgehog surveys last year, but this year we'll be doing hedgehog surveys, so they happen in May and September, and this is a great example of citizen science where we get members of the public to come over to Regents Park, train them up, and we go around and just see if we can find hedgehogs, and we do kind of a check essentially. So we check their weight and check their health, and we use thermal imaging cameras now to do this, as well as looking and just using a torch. So it's really great to be able to have this data to see how populations are faring, and also, you know, the amazing work of volunteers that give up their time to do this. And when we survey the hedgehogs, you know, we can see where they are, and that can then inform park management. And so hedgehogs prefer to forage in short grassland, so within kind of a mosaic of shrubberies and hedgerows, essentially where the invertebrates are. So hedgehogs eat invertebrates, things like slugs, snails, beetles, worms. So luckily, you know, we seem to have quite an abundance of invertebrates. So we still have, you know, have a population of hedgehogs there. And a few years ago, we had again some volunteer citizen scientists, so 84 volunteer citizen scientists that surveyed the Regents Park for invertebrates. So we looked at where most invertebrates could be found, and, you know, to really see if the hedgehogs, you know, will have enough invertebrates to make up their diet. And so there was a lot of so essentially that the study kind of showed that actually hedgehogs do like to forage in kind of short grass, which is probably because it's easier, it's most accessible to kind of get earthworms and slugs and that type of thing, but they prefer longer grass for hibernating. And actually we've installed 50 hedgehog nest boxes, so fingers crossed the hedgehogs will be able to use those so that there's somewhere safe for them to raise their young. Next slide. And another way of being able to spend time in green space in Regents Park is at our allotment. So I'm not sure if you were aware that we have an allotment. It's relatively small, but it's still an amazing space to have in central London. And so the allotment is kind of a joint partnership with the Royal Parks and Sustain as well. So we have a wonderful allotment manager called Carolyn who does a lot of the gardening here. Capel Manor College also use some of the beds as well for their teaching, but also you can volunteer at the allotment as well, and if you volunteer then you get to take home the wonderful produce that is made. So you can see here the asparagus. I just couldn't believe, you know, you get so used to seeing things on the supermarket shelf, and you know, growing up, if you didn't have an allotment or you know, a garden, then you just, you know, it's really difficult to know what your fruit and veg grows like. So for me, I was just amazed at all of the incredible asparagus plants, just looking at how they grow. And so we also have a wormery and some composts as well. We've also got a small orchard at the back. So in this in the back area here, we've got some apple and pear trees, and then also an area that's completely left for wildlife. So you know, we've got things like stinging nettles that are growing, which is great. Lots of our favourite butterflies, like the peacock butterfly or small tortoiseshell butterfly, they lay their eggs on stinging nettle, and the caterpillars eat those. Stinging nettles also really important for other invertebrates like ladybirds and spiders and that type of thing. And so that area also has a little pond. So there's a really just in this small space, there's some really you know, really fantastic invertebrate habitat, and it is a really, you know, brilliant opportunity. So if, you know, if any of you are interested in volunteering at the Regents Park allotment garden, or if you know anyone that might be interested, then again I'll give you the details on how to get involved and how to get in touch. I should also mention that our volunteering team is starting up a conservation volunteer group in Regents Park. So it will be one day every month. I believe it's the third Thursday of every month, but do email to get the exact specifics. But that conservation volunteer group, you know, you'll be able to do lots of habitat enhancement work. So if you feel like that might be something for you, then please do get in touch, because it would just be fantastic to get local residents to volunteer. Brilliant. Gosh, sorry, I think I might have slightly gone over time, Tim. But just wanted to say thank you so much for listening. I've just ended with a picture of the boating lake, and some of you may have spotted the heron here, and I know that herons are, you know, that they just don't, they're just amazing. They never cease to amaze me how still they can stay. So this was a photograph I took a couple of weeks ago when the sun was shining, and just depicting that, you know, kind of tranquil scene with the boating lake. So one of the really great resources, so how connecting with nature benefits our mental health. So the Mental Health Foundation have got some really great resources, and as Tim was saying, you know, it's really about the experience of connecting with nature, which is, you know, completely, you know, your own, for you to decide how that experience with nature might occur. And I know, obviously, you know, it can be difficult in London as well, where, you know, green space is not always easily accessible. So it, you know, there are lots of different ways of kind of, you know, trying to improve your mental health and well-being. And for volunteering opportunities at the Royal Parks, so this is the email, volunteer@royalparks.org.uk, that you can email and you know, mention perhaps that if it is something you'd like to do, or please do share this with anyone that you think may be interested. You know, you can email the volunteering team and perhaps say, you know, I'd be really interested in volunteering at the allotment, and they'll be able to give you all of that information. Excuse me. The same for getting involved in Mission Invertebrate as well. So, you know, if you want to become a citizen scientist, and you really don't need any prior knowledge or experience, you know, it's all about, it's really mainly having fun and being outdoors. Or if you want to, you know, inquire about maybe something you've seen and you want to help get it identified. You know, if you've seen, I'm not sure, a big caterpillar, and you're not sure what insect it might turn into, then please do email us for any queries. And also, if you want to, well, in fact, actually, maybe Tim, what I can do is just keep you updated on the you know, activities that we have throughout the summer once they've all been confirmed. And yeah, with thanks to Tony Duckett for his wildlife photographs, and Claire as well for the illustrations that you saw. So yes, please, hopefully, if you have any questions, I'd be really happy to answer them. And I hope I'll be able to answer them. If not, then I'm sure I'll be able to find out the information for you. So thank you again for listening.
Well, thank you, May. Thank you. Your passion shines through. Your enthusiasm and passion and knowledge as well. And knowledge as well. Yeah. Well, it's always a pleasure to hear people, you know, people who know what they're talking about things. That's lovely.
There's still lots to learn especially with invertebrates. There are just so many thousands of species, so I'm still very much learning, and I'm sure I will be for the rest of my life.
Actually, someone did ask, Anna Rose has asked, the slide which had the numbers of creatures found in Regents Park.
Yes, do you want me to go back to that slide?
Just find
yes, that. Of course. How do I, oh yeah, here we go. Just bear with me.
Yeah, we can just have a trip back through time.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not quite sure how to whiz past.
No, that's
so
fine.
We'll
get there. We'll get there. Listen, meanwhile, I found the warbler.
Oh, thank you, Tim.
You just went past the slide.
Sorry. Oh gosh, sorry.
Okay. Let me just. Oh, sorry. I'm just going to take a photograph of that, if I may. Great. So please, yes, just, I mean, please just, if anyone has a question, just unmute yourselves and ask, please.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I seem to, the chat box, I can't seem to get it up while I'm screen sharing, but I've just been, I'm not sure if I've made my screen disappear, but I think I have managed to get it up. But I just wanted to say, John, I can see your comment that you walked across Primrose Hill and watched 15 starlings feasting on worms, which is so great. And actually starlings seem to be doing so well in the park, and I love watching them. Was that earlier this evening, did you say?
So yes, we were just walking up from the corner of the park by the zoo.
Oh yeah.
It was just close to there, but they were all feasting away with big fat juicy worms. I was quite amazed.
Oh, good. And they're actually, they're so beautiful. They have kind of an iridescence to their feathers, don't they?
Beautiful, yes. They're beautiful.
Yeah, they're very, and again, they're very vocal as well. So if you, as a mindful activity, again, trying to, if you close your eyes and listen to the starlings, they really have quite incredible voice calls to one another. And I can see, so Dora, you've mentioned, oh yeah, great, you'd love to do moth trapping. So how can we find out about events? That's a really good question. So the best place is on our Mission Invertebrate website. So in fact, I can share, if I quickly post the link, because unfortunately we have been a little quiet over the pandemic, but we really hope to do these activities again. If I go on to the what's on, so this is the page, adult activities. So if I just pop it in there, which we update. So these are all of the adult activities. And actually on that page, if you scroll to the bottom, you can see that the moth event that took place. I'm not sure if that was one of the daytime activities. So yeah, we really hope to do more moth trapping events. So the best way to keep an eye on that is to check our website. And yeah, we really hope to do more moth trapping, definitely. And it's really, for me as well, I think moth trapping is even more special because, it's their nighttime flight. They fly during the nighttime. It's just so difficult to see them, and you can't quite appreciate the kind of the beauty and the variety and shapes and sizes of them, and the camouflage as well of the moths. And then we've also got a question from you, Dory. So how can kids get involved? Yeah, so the best thing I would say for children to get involved with is at our Mission Invertebrate Roadshow. You do have to be 18 plus to volunteer. However, you can come and volunteer if you're under 18, but you do need to have an adult or a guardian with you. But again, if you want to email the volunteering team, that's definitely something that they can arrange. So it's just that if they're under 18, then they need to have kind of an adult with them.
Yes, I just saw somebody who was a friend of mine who's got a child asked me. So yeah.
Yeah,
definitely bugs.
yeah, absolutely. And so again, do keep an eye on our website, for kind of our invertebrate days, and things that are going on in Regents Park. But yeah, unfortunately,
you will have a program this summer.
Yes, like. Yeah, absolutely. So we're hoping to do our first roadshow will begin from mid-July, and so that will be happening throughout the summer holidays, and fingers crossed, because our roadshow often is quite popular, so fingers crossed we'll be able to from June the 21st, once restrictions ease, we should be absolutely fine for that. So yeah, please keep an eye on our website, and it would be great. And also I can, as events are happening, I can share those with Tim, and he can let everyone know. And of course, there's always the if you would be interested and willing, then I'm happy to do kind of guided walks for you, or
brilliant.
Yeah,
that would be great. I mean, we do all ever since, well, for many months now, we do a walk on a Wednesday morning. So That would be brilliant, May, to do a walk with you, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
I can see
yeah.
Anna nodding. She's one of our walkers. And
Oh,
John,
great.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'd love that. And, you know, I can show you places like the bee bank or the loggeries that you might not have spotted beforehand. So, yeah, so maybe, Dora, we can email and be in touch. Yeah. Because that would be a really great thing. And again, you know, showing you the allotments, or you know, maybe trying to arrange that moth trap event for the Primrose Hill Community Association. Yeah,
that would be great. Yeah,
that would be great. Yeah.
So could I ask you, I mean,
yes, Tim. Yeah,
it's actually biodiversity. Do you think it's increasing in the parks? Because with your various initiatives.
Yeah, so yeah, that's a great question, and I think it's difficult to say, because obviously, you know, Regents Park has been around for, you know, many hundreds of years, so it's always difficult to know. But I would say definitely yes. So that's you know, partly to do with you know, the habitat enhancements that have happened. So even, you know, something that seems you know, like the bee bank that seems, you know, relatively small scale compared to the entirety of Regents and Primrose Hill, but actually, you know, lots of invertebrates will be using that. And, you know, there's a whole kind of colony of ants that I've watched, you know, moving around. So yeah, I do think I would say that it has increased in biodiversity, and actually and perhaps I may be wrong, so I'll add that caveat. Someone from the park team might disagree with me, but from what I've read and experienced, I definitely think it has. And actually, London in general, you know, we have such an amazing mosaic of different green spaces, and a lot of those green spaces, you know, they local councils, for example, or you know, other green space authorities, you know, look after green space, you know, don't use as many pesticides. And, you know, we have areas like railway lines that, you know, are undisturbed really by humans, but, you know, there's always areas where, you know, they're left to go wild.
Who've chopped down, I don't know how many trees along our railway, but
anyway.
Oh
yes. Oh, HS2, did you mention? Yes. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but in general, there is such a variety of habitats, and, you know, people really care about wildlife. And so, you know, gardens often, you know, kind of a bird's eye view, you can actually see that, you know, even on my street, you know, this long row of houses, actually it's almost one mini nature reserve. But that's one of the issues, you know, that does come, for example, with hedgehogs. When people fence their gardens, you know, if you leave just a small hole at the bottom of your fence, and then hedgehogs can actually, you know, creating a hedgehog highway so that hedgehogs can move from one garden to the next, because, you know, they can travel kind of, you know, 2 to 3 kilometers an evening in search of food. So that's really important to kind of you know, think of if you're fortunate enough to have one, you know, think of your garden as you know, one of the green spaces and kind of one big nature reserve. But yeah, I think definitely in Regents Park there's definitely been, you know, huge improvements, and certainly, you know, we're lucky with Mission Invertebrate to have the funding to put in you know, new shrubs, new trees, new, you know, areas of Wildflower Meadow, and fencing off areas as well, so that, you know, hedgehogs, for example, or birds have a place that's not disturbed by, you know, humans or dogs, so that they can nest.
So about hedgehogs, this is with my Transition Primrose Hill hat on, as well as the Community Association. We're trying to see whether we can make the reservoir site, Barrow Hill, which is contiguous with Primrose Hill, which is fenced, of course, into something a bit more biodiverse. And we wondered whether that was somewhere where hedgehogs could be based, as it were.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm not sure. Obviously, the difficulty with the hedgehogs is that they have to cross roads, and sometimes they just won't do that, because they're, you know, they understand the dangers. You know, they're put off by the headlights or by cars. But it's, you know, certainly possible, you know, with hedgehogs, perhaps, you know, from Hampstead Heath, and it's always worth, you know, creating that habitat, just in case you do get a hedgehog that comes along. So really, you know, what's really important with hedgehogs is that there's areas of, you know, long grass, and also you can leave you know, piles of kind of sticks and dead wood, because they can kind of nest nest underneath, and that's, you know, the perfect shelter for them, which is one of the reasons why, you know, if you ever do have a bonfire, it's always best to check that there are no hedgehogs in there, because, you know, they love to you know, to nestle in the undergrowth where it's safe for them. So definitely having, you know, longer areas of grass and leaving areas you know, to their own devices, you know, trying to dedicate an area that really is just left to grow wild. And you never know, hedgehogs might appear. But yeah, one of the really key things is to have in mind that hedgehogs do move, you know, a lot in the night to find food or in search of a mate. So it's always good to have you know, a small hole so that they can, you know, come in and out, so that the green spaces are joined together. And again, you know, there's loads of the Mammal Society, for example, have got lots of good things on good advice and you know, kind of practical conservation that you can do to help hedgehogs. It's worth checking that out as well. Yeah.
Yes, hedgehogs like to eat an invertebrate, don't they?
Yeah, they do, absolutely. Yeah, so kind of earthworms, snails, beetles, yeah, lots of things like that. They're not big into eating plants, like plant matter. I think they're definitely carnivores.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much, May.
Yeah, really good.
Oh, thank you. It's been so great, and thank you for all of your questions as well. And yeah, Dora, we'll definitely be in touch, and yeah, do keep an eye on our Mission Invertebrate website. And also, if you do think, you know, anyone would be interested in volunteering, then you know, please do share that email. And yeah, it's been really a really nice evening. So thank you very much. And I know that there's some fantastic speakers, you know, lined up for tomorrow and for the remainder of the week. So yeah, definitely we'll be tuning in for those.
May, if I could just say, we're a little disappointed that wasn't a greater turnout this evening, but I think with the recording going on our website, and we'll give it more publicity, and hopefully more people will look at your presentation, which I've certainly enjoyed very much. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John. Yeah, sure. That would be great. Please, yeah.
And I guess you've got a link with the Friends of Regents Park already, I assume.
I have, yes, yeah. So I'm in touch with Mark Elliott, the chair. Yeah. But yeah, no, I feel it's always difficult with doing online things at the moment, isn't it? Because things are open, so sometimes people are out and about, especially with the lighter evenings. Maybe people have gone out for a walk to be in green space.
They're in nature. Yeah,
they're in nature. Yes, exactly.
Good. Okay. Well, finally, May, just to say, I know we talked about some questions for the various speakers that I was going to ask you at the beginning. So I will just ask you one of them, which is what is your favourite place in nature in the United Kingdom?
Oh yes, so yeah, difficult one. I think, do you know what, I'd probably have to say in my mum's garden, which is a very special place to me. You know, having I moved around quite a lot as a kid, so to have that base you know, in my mum's garden, and for me really that was kind of my childhood, was, you know, kind of rummaging around in the soil and you know, picking out caterpillars and looking at spiders and things like that, you know, putting my head into the compost bin because I thought I'd seen a slow worm. So I think for me the most special place probably has to be my mum's garden, but you know, other places that are particularly special to me I don't know if any of you have visited, but Blean Woods in Kent. So I used to go to Blean Primary School and have very good memories of me and my dad walking through the bluebells in the morning to get to school. So feel very fortunate to have had that green space around me as a child.
Well, yes, I think so much of the you know, the mental health benefits of nature must come from us sort of re-engaging with nature in that same way as we did when we were little, seeing the wonder and everything. Yeah,
absolutely, and definitely I think for me the thing that's so important is the taking notice, because I think, you know, even you know, seeing a butterfly, you know, fly past the window, for me, you know, you're not in this alone. You know, there's a whole environment that's kind of that you're part of, so it's kind of seeing yourself as part of it, and belonging to it, you know, part of something bigger.
Well, you're certainly now part of our community in Primrose Hill, May.
Oh, thank you. It's great to be here.
Thank you. And we will continue to be in touch. We'll have you back at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, thanks for coming, folks, and do tune in to we're one every night this week, we will put the
spread the word.
Spread the word.
Yes,
And we'll put the recording up, and see you all soon again. Bye for now. Good night.
Bye.
Great.
Thanks,
Good night.
everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone. Thanks
Bye,
again.
everyone.